coffee harvest season is around the corner in Nicaragua. We're gonna be starting our harvest next year, but today actually we need to head out into the plantation because we're gonna be doing granizado. Now granizado refers to the coffee beans that have ripened early before the big harvest. So we essentially need to go out into the field and pick these beans off the plants, because if not, they're gonna fall in the ground. Take a look at this right here. These are early coffee beans that I've already picked walking here, and so we need to go find them. After we spend the day picking, we're gonna process them. We're gonna put them to dry and then eventually brew a cup of coffee a few days later once they're fully dry. But let's head into the mountains. It is a gorgeous day. It rained a lot last night, but right now it's nice and dry, so perfect time to go do this granizado. Let's go. So the first lot that we're gonna start at is actually over here on this right side. We have noticed that this lot has a lot of plants that are already mature and have a lot of coffee cherries ready for the picking. So we're gonna make our way down there and go see what they got going on. But take a look at this plant right here. You see these? This one was already ready to fall on the ground, so we need to make sure we're pulling them off. So take a look at this here. This is what I'm talking about. This one dried up already. Even though this may seem like a simple task of just picking coffee beans, it's very important to do this because when the coffee bean over ripens, take a look at this one right here, splits open, and essentially this will fall on the ground. And when it falls on the ground, it can lead to a pest called the borer, which is la broca in Spanish, and it's an insect that goes inside the coffee bean through this little knot right here, and it eats the coffee bean. So when not monitored correctly, la broca can multiply quickly, and then it can turn into a huge problem in the farm. So keeping the farm clean, making sure you're picking up your coffee beans is highly important. This is the reason we're doing this. So we're gonna see how much we get today. I don't think it will be a lot. This is just more of a light cleaning, so we don't have any problems in the farm. But if we can get enough to brew a cup of coffee, I think that would be really cool. Take a look at this here. This is what we call in Nicaragua chicharra, and it's actually a cicada. So oftentimes in my videos you'll hear like a loud ringing, a loud singing of insects, and it's the cicadas. There's an abundance of cicadas here, and so specifically when it's really hot, they'll all come out and start singing. So most of the time I try not to film videos when they're singing because it sounds like they have a speaker, to be honest. Look at that ant infestation. You have to be careful for spiders, bees, and ants, because you will get all those mixed in here, so it's not that easy.
Esta es la broca, si la vamos a caer.
Majority of coffee in Nicaragua is planted on inclined hills, so getting coffee out of here is a difficult task. You can look at the slope of this mountain here, and now every time it rains it just becomes a muddy mess. At times when the team is out in the field picking coffee, they'll spend maybe from 5 in the morning till lunchtime out here. And eventually they'll accumulate enough for one sack, which is 100 pounds, put it on their back, and then haul it out of the mountains. So it's a labor of love. It's something that most people don't get to see, and something that most consumers don't realize how much work and how many people touch their coffee before it reaches to them in the morning. So this is why I'm incredibly grateful to be out here picking coffee. Even though my speed is super slow and I can't keep up with my team, I can appreciate the craft behind this and that people are still willing to come to work and do this. It is funny every time I'm out here picking coffee. The speed I go at, which is like a turtle speed, so slow compared to the team that comes out here and have done this their whole life. It's just, they go 5 times faster than I do, so I have so much respect for that. Look at this beautiful coffee bean here, well developed. And you see that color, that deep wine, that red, that means it's ready for the picking, and that's where you get the best flavors, that red color. This one actually though was so ripe, it actually ended up splitting if you take a look at that. So this wouldn't make it to your cup of coffee. This would be sorted out on the second level of quality, but it's still good to try. So juicy, really delicious. We have the coffee that we picked. Take a look at this. So we finished that small little lot, which is all the way over there. We still need to do the full farm, but right now I'm about to walk you guys through the process of what we do to select the good beans and separate the beans that are lower quality. All right guys, now that we have these beautiful beans, take a look at this. It looks amazing and delicious, but honestly we can't use all these beans, so I'm about to show you guys what we normally do here in Nicaragua. We would add the beans to a body of water. And the reason we're adding the beans to a body of water, it's because we want to separate the beans that are not developed properly. So the ones that are floating are the ones that are going to be separated, and they'll be lower grade quality. So we're going to go ahead and do this for all the coffee that we picked. So the bad ones that are floating, we're going to put in the bad bucket, but the good ones that went to the bottom, that means that they developed properly, are going to go to the good bucket right here, you see? So we need to do all this before the next step. It's a lot of work for that delicious cup of coffee, but if we do this, we ensure quality. When you drink very cheap coffee, they don't care about this, and they'll give you beans that didn't develop properly and everything else, but we care about quality. So we are on the final bucket here. As you can see, we have 2 buckets full of good coffee and a little bit of coffee that floated. And so, which is good. This is what we want to do. We want to separate all that bad coffee. Then we can move on to the next step in the process, which is going to be visually sorting. Now, this is at a small scale. Can you imagine processing coffee? We are doing 5 tons, 10 tons of coffee. How much labor is needed? How many people need to touch it? How much work? How much headache? That's why there's a labor shortage in coffee, you know, because it's so labor intensive and the conditions are rough. The new generation doesn't want to farm coffee, and so it's something that's just becoming more and more of a problem each year, you know. This is why it's important. You and I, we watch these videos, we push them forward so more people can see what goes on behind a cup of coffee, you know. So more people know and more people understand the struggle. All right, guys, we're gonna take the ones that floated. We're gonna set that aside. You can technically still drink that, but it wouldn't be specialty level, you know, and we want specialty coffee, really good coffee, good quality, right? So we're gonna take these buckets here and we're gonna pour them. Take a look at that good bean, that fuel the dream kind of bean here. I'm gonna pour all this here. And this is what we're pouring it on. It's called a zaranda, what we call here in Nicaragua, which is actually used to dry the coffee, but we're gonna use this to sort the coffee. So our goal here is to go through the whole harvest and pick out the beans that didn't develop properly and have physical damage like this one here, you see? So you go through all this and you want to leave the cherries that are intact, not split open, and are the correct color. So we're going to take this, and now this is considered a defect, and we're going to move along here. So we're going to have to sort all of this. Now if you're drinking lower grade quality coffee, they don't care. all this stuff here is going in your morning cup of coffee, and so you're drinking that. You know, unfortunately, it's a sad story, but it's the truth, you know. So we're gonna go ahead and do some sorting right now, and it's actually very peaceful, you know, be sorting up here in the mountains. So when you compete, there's a competition called the Cup of Excellence, and it's done in regions of the world where they produce coffee. And essentially is that you compete, right? So you pick your best beans, your best variety, and then you process your coffee in the best way you can. And when you're competing for the Cup of Excellence, you want to make sure that you do a good job sorting. So essentially, you're sending your best beans out for battle, and then those beans are going to be cupped internationally by judges that are from around the world, from Japan, Asia, Europe, and they're going to be cupping and scoring all the coffee. And then you're competing against all the other farms from that country. Essentially, if I signed up for the competition, I would have to compete for all the farms in Nicaragua, right? And the cool thing about it is that your coffee's graded, you get international recognition, but the tough part about it is that you have to make sure that you're doing everything correct, you're harvesting right, the nutrition of the bean is good and developed right, and then you can start competing. So eventually my goal is to compete. I think it would be pretty cool to compete. And for the competition though, you only do small lots because the level of detail that you need to pay attention to is only doable on small lots to make sure that you're sending out your coffee. So it's not large amounts of volume, it's actually a smaller amount of volume. All right guys, we got everything sorted here. And it's looking nice. It's not 100% perfect, but it's gonna do for this round here. And I want to show you guys something, how we're gonna depulp this. So usually we have a depulping machine that helps us pull the coffee bean out of the cherry, but here we're gonna do it by hand because it's a small lot. And so take a look at this. So here you have the coffee cherry, and then you're gonna squeeze it, and then you have the pulp that comes out, and then the coffee bean. Fun fact is you actually can make tea out of this. What you do is you dry it, and then when you're ready to make tea, you pour hot water on it and you rehydrate it. But for that, we're gonna go ahead and squeeze this right here. We're gonna squeeze this to see all of these beans pop open, and then we're gonna sort out for the coffee beans, and we're gonna move on to the next step. So let's do some squeezing here. Look at that, feels good actually. Whoa, one bean went flying, almost hit me in the eye there. This can actually serve as organic fertilizer once it breaks down. It takes a while to break down, but we're gonna reintroduce this to the soil, making sure we're taking care of the soil too here. So we're almost there. Take a look at all these beans right here. How nice that looks. Well, we started with coffee cherries. Take a look at this. Now we have coffee beans. Crazy how we go from this huge thing to now this little bit amount of beans, and we're not done yet. We're still gonna lose some beans after we start sorting after fermentation. So we're gonna close it up. We're gonna put it here, and we're gonna leave it overnight to ferment, and the next step's gonna be washing. So it's been 24 hours, guys, since we last fermented the coffee, and it smells so good. It smells like fermented kombucha here. And look at all those bubbles, all that bacteria that's been moving around. So right now what happened is this all slimy stuff that you see here, the mucilage of the coffee, now became loose because of the fermentation and the bacteria that's been eating it. So it's ready to be washed. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put this here, and we're gonna introduce a little bit of a time here. And then we're just gonna move it around in the water, and we're gonna swish it against each other. Make sure that all that slimy stuff gets washed off. And look at this, you hear that? So that's what we call a wash process here in Nicaragua, or just in general. So we're gonna go ahead and do this for all the coffee, and then the wash one is gonna be stored in here, and I'll show you guys what it looks like. I'll take this batch, I'm gonna put it back in. I think we have overall maybe, we have around 2 pounds of coffee here. And then imagine doing this at a large scale. You need a lot of people to help you wash the coffee, or you need machines. They do sell machines that help you wash the coffee that make it a lot faster, but most farmers don't have the funds to buy a machine, so it's all washed by hands in big pilas, what we call here in Nicaragua, and then they are sent to dry. Oof, look at that tiny little bucket here where you're reusing here that we found on the farm. We still have some floater beans that are coming to the top. those are gonna be rejected also. So we need to make sure we reject those. So we're gonna go ahead and finish washing all this. All right, last but not least, the last of the good stuff here. No more, it's all slimy, we gotta wash that. And we'll wash the last bit. I'm excited to get this drying. I'm about to explain to you guys the drying process, how long it's gonna take. This is a labor of love, to be honest. I'll take the last few bits out. I chose the world's smallest bucket to do this. All right guys, so we started with coffee cherries, and look at what we have now, which is coffee and parchment. So here in Nicaragua, this is what we call pergamino. So this is before the final stages of getting it ready to export out of the country. And what we're gonna do next now is that we need to bring down the moisture level of the coffee bean. So we need to dry the coffee bean to a certain moisture, which is around 12 to 11%. So it's ready to be roasted and it's ready to be stored. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna leave it in this, what we call a zaranda here in Nicaragua, and we're gonna let it dry for around 15 to 19 days. And now here in the mountains, it is so humid that we're actually gonna need to bring this down to the city to finish up the last few days. Because what happens is humidity just attacks the coffee again and it never fully dries. So once it's fully dry though, then we move on to the next stage in the parchment, which is gonna be part 2. If you love this video, check out the other videos I got on my channel about coffee. It's gonna be right here or right here. I'll see you in next week's video.